All right, hey, what's up? Whoever's out there, how's it going? It's been about 7 or 8 days since we did the last YouTube live, and I think everything is escalated further from where we were last time. To where depending on where you are, there's you're either self quarantined, lockdown, or one of those issues. And now you're talking about getting government stimulus packages and help for individuals. And hey, Brandon, yeah, everybody's kind of living a Corona life right now, trying to figure out how to stay busy, how to stay sane, how not to stress out too much about things, how to figure out economically how to make it, especially when if you're like I am, you have two kids at home and two young kids, and they want to do stuff all the time, and you didn't plan to be off for a month straight from school, so you really didn't plan to have all the money that you need to spend doing things for a month straight. But luckily, Disney's closed and all those parks and things are shut down, so it's not as bad. And can't really go to the beach anymore, so restaurants are closed, so it's hard to eat out. So, um, afternoon, Tyler. So, I think in a situation like this, I think some of those things, even though you can take food out, the fact that you can't go into a restaurant, the fact that amusement parks and Disney and things like that are closed, it makes it a little bit easier to not run around doing things all day. Because otherwise, as a school teacher, when you have two young kids that are students, being off from work gets kind of expensive because when you're at work, you all have the same school day, you all have the same situation from the morning till the afternoon, and then I'm either coaching or 80% of the year I'm coaching or have something going on in the girls' dance. So it's one of those things where when school's in session and dance in session and I'm coaching stuff, you don't have time to spend money, and now you get in a situation with this Corona deal where now you find yourself doing nothing but spending money. But the one good thing about being a teacher and a coach is, as of right now, although we're all trying to get through it and we're all trying to figure out what to do next. At least as a teacher, you're not really worried about losing your job right now. You're worried about the nuances of, uh, you know, distance learning and online learning and getting all your classroom stuff. If you're like me, I teach weight training class. I have no idea what they want me to get together for a Google Classroom. If they want me to do push-ups or burpees or sit-ups and have the kids video conference themselves doing, push-ups or sit-ups. I don't know what they want me to do, but in the business world, there's people that are getting laid off. There's people that are getting salaries cut. It was just such an unexpected deal that, if you were preparing for something like this and you knew your salary was going to get cut or you knew you might get laid off, obviously you'd have some things, your ducks in a row or some things set up. But when it comes out of nowhere and you weren't preparing, I think that's what catches people by surprise. So, at least in the teaching realm, at least we'll never be rich, we'll never be famous, but at the same time, during times like this, we'll always have a job and a steady income. So, um, enough of that nonsense. Let's talk ball. Let's talk football. Let's get our mind off of um, all the crazy stuff that's going on out there. Let's talk offense or defense or special teams or practice plans or anything football related. Let's let it rip. Been having some good Twitter chats lately. If you follow me on Twitter, asking some questions every day with dome hats, giving away one of our play fast boonies every day. It's kind of hard to pick the winners. Sometimes you pick a funny answer, sometimes you pick what you think is a good answer. Um, I've tried to pick some guys that have commented for the first time, guys that maybe were new to the Twitter realm or to the play fast realm, and try to keep them involved. And all my loyal subscribers and all the people that have been there for a while. I'd like to hit some of them too, but at the same time, you get some of these new people, and you can tell when somebody's new on Twitter based on how many followers and when they joined, and also you get them in something like that. You get them to comment for the first time, and next thing you know, they're active. They're active social media participants on Twitter, which is good. 18-year-old assistant coach for high school. What's your biggest advice to me? Whatever your job is, do it. Don't ask for promotions until promotions are given to you. If it's an assistant to an assistant, be that. If it's an assistant coach, be that. If it's an equipment manager, be that. If it's a videographer, be that. Whatever your job is, you be the best at your job you can possibly be. And if you do that the right way, people will notice it, and you'll work your way up from there. So, um, just love what you do, do your job, and don't try to be a head coach or an offensive coordinator overnight. Just be happy to be an assistant coach. Watching your videos for 4 years, learned a heck of a lot from you. I use your philosophy for my youth team here in Chicago. Yeah, I think our philosophy with some of the things we do on offense and defense could work at the youth level. Obviously, I don't know enough about youth football to know if you're um, relegated to certain formations on offense or certain things on defense. But trying to keep things simple yet multiple enough to have answers. We want to be multiple with what we're doing. We want to have answers with what we're doing, but we want our rules to be simplistic so that the kids can understand them and play at a relatively decent pace. We don't always play as fast as I would like to, but that's on us doing a better job in practice and with our linemen and with our guys, and them doing a better job understanding um, what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it. I think the whole tempo deal, for the most part, to kids when they get to high school, is all brand new, and how you teach them to do it and your terminology. And we've just got to do a better job in practice. But as far as our rules are concerned, we don't ask our kids really to do a lot. So, it's kind of simple to say, all right, look, you need to be 85, 90% on assignments. I'm not talking about physically. You're going to get your ass whipped from time to time, but I'm talking about steps and assignments and where you're going and routes that you're running, or, who you're blocking, where the double teams are, because we don't do a lot. So if you're not going to do a whole heck of a lot, then you need to be really precise on your assignments. So I think it's good for youth football. Yeah, good advice, Brandon. Absorb it all in, take notes, learn both sides of the ball, don't specialize. Great advice. That's the first thing I did right away coming as a receiver in college. I figured out offensive run game and then defense real quick. Um, you know, as opposed to I continued to hone in on receiver play, but I also learned how to block runs and how to coach defense. So someone very new to Twitter, have you ever considered doing a Twitter video for football coaches? Yeah, Twitter only lets you I believe it's only like a minute or something like that, or I don't think Twitter lets you go longer than a minute. They're always trying to condense, so it's hard to do Twitter videos themselves. So what I normally do is I take my YouTube videos and I put them up on Twitter with a link, so that if people click on the link, they can go straight to the YouTube video. So I try and share my YouTube videos that way. Instagram TV is a little bit better way to do some videos, 8, 10, 12 minutes at a time. But I don't think Twitter, to my knowledge, or at least I haven't used it because I just use YouTube. I don't think Twitter has a function right now where you can go. Normally, if you're putting video clips on there, they cut them down at a minute or so, something like that. It's a fourth down and 10, game is on the line. What are you calling? What route are you targeting? Well, you got to target. You got to call something that's going to get you 10 yards. So normally, some type of routes that have vertical stems and either comeback routes on the outside, or vertical routes that have the options to sit down or check down, but they got to be something that gets at least to the sticks. The worst thing in the world on 4th and 10 is completing an 8-yard pass that gets tackled. So unless you feel like you're getting man to man and you're going to complete a crossing route with a rubber or pick and a guy has room to run, I'd be looking to throw the ball further than the sticks. How big is your offense playbook play-wise compared to actual number of plays you run, customized personnel strengths? Our playbook's not very big at all. I talked about this last week. We have 4 base runs, and then some tags off of that. If we run power, then we're also going to run power read. We're also going to run power toss read, but we're only going to block power. When we run our duo play or our inside zone, depending on which one we're using from time to time, we're going to run it with a kick on the backside. We're going to run it with a read on the backside. We're going to run it as an ISO play. So, we're going to tag different things that we can RPO. But, as far as the playbook itself, we have 4 major runs that we carry. Next year, we might only have 3. Probably 4 to 5 drop back pass concepts, 3 quick game concepts, 2 to 3 screens, and probably 2 to 3 waggles and probably 2 action passes. So there's really not a lot in our playbook at all. I consider our playbook. It's sometimes when we're doing it right and we have the right kids and we've been doing it for 2 or 3 years and we can continue to add on. It may look like we're doing a lot of things, but we really don't do a lot. What is my take on keeping formation and play naming simple for players to process quickly and play fast? That's everything we do, basically. I talked about it last week. As this thing rolls along, guys, if you're not familiar with what super chats are, super chats are a way for us to monetize the channel so we can get better equipment. My laptop is not very good. I'd like a new laptop. I'd like to get a new microphone and recording deal for my podcast and stuff. So if you use a super chat, it doesn't matter whether it's 99 cents or a dollar. Your chat will stay up there highlighted the whole time, so I could see it and not miss it. So as these are scrolling now, we have 25 people on. It's awesome, but I got to try and answer all these questions. Um, Justin, Joseph, what is your take on? We try to do that. We even do it with our snap counts. So within our formations, our snap counts are built off the formation. If the formation has a right or a left, we snap the ball on one. If the formation doesn't have a right or a left, we snap it on first sound. So for argument's sake, we might have a formation that's 2x2 that we call even right or even left. But then we might have a tempo deal where it's 2x2 and we call it NASCAR, and it's always even right. So then if it's NASCAR, we line up an even right and we snap it on first sound. But if it's even right or even left and we say the word right or left, we snap the ball on one. So I'm always trying to find simple ways like that to keep things in relatively simple terms for kids to understand that this is how we play. This is our snap count. This is what we do. And then within our terminology, we try to keep it word association as best as possible. So if we're running, inside zone plays, they're probably going to be words that start with an I. And when we're running our power plays, they start with a P, and counter plays usually start with a C. And then in the passing game, we try to, a lot of our stuff is named after, NFL teams, and we try to word associate the route concepts with the team. So I'm all about keeping everything as simple as possible. Run and shoot was probably good for what it was worth back in the day. I think there's still some really good concepts of run and shoot out there, mixed with now some run game. I think even the run and shoot pundits, the June Jones of the world, and Mouse Davis and guys like that, I think even they understood after blowing 35-point leads in playoff games that got to be able to run the ball a little bit more, even if it's not the greatest running game. The clock stays moving. You force teams to take timeouts. When you're throwing a ball short into space and with high percentage of completions, that's great, but the ball still has a chance to hit the ground. The clock has a chance to stop. So I think the run and shoot was very good. I think it still is good. I think a lot of the passing concepts and what they try to do spatially within the run and shoot and how simplistic they try to make it, I think it was all real good. And you just need to take I think you take pieces of the run and shoot and you combine it with more spread type run game, with whether it be inside zone or dark plays or power reads or things like that. And now all of a sudden you have yourself a good offense, which is the best offenses you're starting to see nowadays are combinations of what everybody likes to call quote unquote air raid philosophy in theory, and then they're combining that like Lincoln Riley with GT counter and inside zone and outside zone, and so they're coming up with good physical run games and air raid philosophically throwing the ball passing wise, but they wouldn't be quote unquote an air raid offense because the philosophy of throwing the ball however many times a game and those things don't always necessarily jive. But you take a guy like, to me, Lincoln Riley's the best example at Oklahoma. He was an air raid guy, learned under air raid systems, and he combined that with some gruesome downhill physical runs with the players they have at Oklahoma, and he's got a great offense. So that's where I think offense is going. I think you need to combine, whether it be run and shoot or flex bone or wing tee or whatever. The wing tee teams that get really good at the wing tee and then they break formations and throw the ball, those are the ones that you really have to fear. Single wing teams that find a way to do all the single wing stuff and run the spinner series, but then also find a way with funky formations to get guys eligible and throw the ball, those are people you have to fear. Flex bone teams that can throw the ball, those are people that you have to fear because they do a bunch of different things well. So when you take some concepts from different offense and kind of mold them together into an offense, I'm a big proponent on an offense doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't have to be a system. It can be parts of one system and parts of another system and parts of another system. As long as it all makes sense and the rules are easy for the kids, then that's a way that you go about it. So I don't think you need to be an exact system. Zoom meeting clients. I've done some things on Zoom. I'm not the greatest with using it yet. I don't have the greatest computer at home. I'm not the greatest with technology. Over this Corona time, I've promised myself that I will learn. I'm going to learn how to record my own podcast, how to use Audacity or some type of streaming deal to record my podcast and get the audio up. I'm going to go out and purchase a microphone and some better podcasting equipment, and I'm going to learn Zoom and some other conference and meeting deals because I need to get better at that. But that's really not my deal, to be honest with you. My deal is YouTube and getting on a whiteboard, and live discussions like this are my deal. My deal is not really, there's a lot of guys out there doing those Zoom meeting clinics and stuff like that, and they're doing a great job. And it's just not my niche. It's not what I do. My thing is a whiteboard and me, and or my thoughts in a live setting like this. I'm not really a playbook guy. We use Just Play Football, and I use Just Play Football, but I'm really not great with it. I'm not a software guy. That's just not my makeup. So, a whiteboard for me, a pen and a paper, a live setting like this where you can ask questions and I can answer. I don't need a whiteboard, although I actually, I don't know if we'll be able to see this, but now that I had to, I don't know how it would work in this setting, but I could probably rearrange some things in this room. But now that I had to bring my stuff home to do my YouTube videos at home, I now have my whiteboard with me. That was our simple buck sweep RPO that we ran, that I did a video on yesterday, just to show people how we run our buck sweep to the single side and RPO to the slot receiver. So I do have that whiteboard now. So the next time we go live, if I reorganize my room a little bit and push my couch and my footrest out of the way, I can move the board back a little bit, and then there's more room for you to see. So Twitter question was about using Twitter to build your presence. Yeah, you just got to keep, as a coach, you got to follow other coaches. You got to follow the different Twitter chats that go on at different times throughout the week. There's one going on Monday night. There's a hog football chat, and Tuesday night there's one that goes on, and Wednesday night there's a Texas high school football chat, and Thursday night there's a special teams or a wild bunch chat. I think there's a 425 or a defensive chat. So what you need to do is you need to follow other coaches, see if you can get people to follow you. If they don't follow you, don't panic right away, but follow other coaches so you can see all the information that's out there, and then like things and retweet them. And we got a deal going on right now. I actually have 3 Twitter accounts. So I've got my Coach Mac 8740, which is my biggest account, and then I've got my Florida high school football chat account that I use to run the Sunday night chat. And then I have a PlayFast football account that I started about 7 months ago when I knew I was going to make PlayFast a business so that somebody else couldn't take that account. So what I just started doing recently with the promotion we got going on with Dome the next 25 days, we've already given away 5 Boonie hats, and I've been asking questions and asking people to retweet their answers. And then what I've been doing is I've been going back and liking and retweeting from my Coach Mac account and from my PlayFast account, which gets those tweets out to more people, which gets more people to then see you. And that's how you build your followers and your social network. So you've got to get out there on Twitter. Like Boomer Sooner saying here, it's the #1 news feed. And good for getting your name out, but YouTube and Twitch is perfect for what you're doing. Yeah, YouTube is perfect for me. I've never used Twitch, actually, to be honest with you. I used to play League of Legends on a PC when I had a PC that was capable of holding all the ramifications and things that I needed for to hold League of Legends and play games on the PC. And then my PC shut down. I had to get a new one to do a Glacier Clinic, and I just bought a small one to hold my presentations, and I haven't got another computer since, so I haven't played League of Legends for a while. But all the kids, and I say kids and adults, everybody in the gaming world was using Twitch to stream so that you could see what each other was doing as a team. So you knew when there were fights and battles and stuff going on. But I've actually never used Twitch. YouTube is perfect for me, and I still to this day am not a master at it. I've got to do a better job. I got to learn how to edit some things and learn all the algorithms on YouTube. But YouTube Live is a great setting for me because I just happen to be, for me, the way I think in my brain, I don't need a whiteboard when people ask questions. I can see scenarios in my head, and I'm able to picture things in my head real quickly. So it's just a good setting for me. And YouTube and me in front of a camera with just a whiteboard is a good setting for me. So when you find your niche, you try and stick with it. I started doing podcasts. I've done about 8 podcasts now, and I talk about golf and wrestling and music. And the bottom line is people that are Coach Mac followers don't want to hear me talk about golf or music or wrestling. They want to hear me talk about football. So I'm going to have to develop another audience and do some different things. I thought about maybe doing a golf channel on YouTube, but I have enough on my plate running this YouTube channel that I don't know if I could ever get to running a second channel. But golf is a major, major hobby of mine. It's something that I do since this coronavirus and the kind of shutdown. I live on a golf course, and I've putted on a putting green with nobody around, or on a green that's right outside across the street from my house. I actually took my daughter out there 2 nights ago to try and get her to start playing. She's 10 years old, and I'd like to get her to start playing, but I've putted probably uh, 8 or 9 days straight since the coronavirus and since it's escalated. Some golf courses around here are still open. They're down to where the restaurants are closed, the bars are closed. The carts are one person per cart only. Some of them you can only walk, but they're staying open as long as they can to give people an outlet that want to be out in open space. But they're probably going to shut down real soon too. So I live on a golf course, so I can get out on the course. But I'm thinking about doing some uh, golf course and golf videos. But again, people in this setting don't want to hear that. So I'm trying to learn more about spill fits and box fits on defense and how to define the spill player. The spill player is usually going to be guys on the edge, guys that are sending the ball. So your defensive ends or your outside backers, maybe that are coming off the edge, they're going to spill the ball a little bit wider. Obviously, a three technique can spill a trap. I think anybody can spill a play, but usually you're talking about end spilling. And when you're talking about boxing, you're talking about edge guys that keep the ball inside. So now your linebackers know that when you're going to spill the ball, normally you want to spill the ball and you want to have force players outside so that when you spill the ball, you send it to a force player who then sends it back inside. And then you want your linebackers and your safeties running the alley and fitting from inside out. Spilling the ball makes it go east and west, not north and south. You don't want vertical running lanes. That's how you get killed on defense. So by spilling the ball, you're trying to send it east and west, and then you're trying to fit it off of that. Boxing a ball would keep everything inside, and boxing is actually an easier, more athletic way for defensive ends, especially at a youth or a young level, to play where they can get up the field and get off the ball and use some fast twitch and athletic ability without having to react to blocks. Block reaction, um, if not taught right at a youth, young level, by the time kids get into high school, they've been running around doing their own thing for so long that teaching them block reaction and then block destruction. And block reaction, what I mean by block reaction is every block that you see has a certain reaction to it. So I'm going to react a certain way to a down block and a certain way to a base block and a certain way to a reach block and a certain way to a pass set. And when it's block reaction, that means kids have to be able to use quick twitch fibers, but at the same time, they have to be able to process things visually and think about what they want to do. Whereas, as a spill player, if you get a down block, you got to take the air out of that down block. You got to try and get hands on that down block, squeeze it down inside, and then spill the next block that shows, whether it be a fullback or a pulling guard. As a box player, you can get in an aggressive 3-point stance, kind of very similar to a lot of the ends that get paid millions of dollars in the NFL. A lot of them are going to be box players that are rushing the passer and trying to get to a point 3 to 4 yards behind that tackle and 2 to 3 yards outside that tackle. They're trying to get off the ball and get to that point 100 miles an hour to kind of set the edge. Runs have to go back inside of that. So that's why the NFL is such a different game than the high school game and the youth game. Usually in high school and youth, where you see with the ball on a hash mark, you see better teams with better athletes get the ball outside and it runs forever. You don't see that as much in the NFL because the ball's played from the middle a little bit more, and the edge rushers are so dynamic and they're paid to rush the passer that they normally get up the field. So spill players would be guys that squeeze down blocks and send the ball outside. Box players would be players that keep the ball inside, and then you would fit it off of that. So you would try and fit things and fold things and force things off of spill or box. David Shofstall, 8th grade coach here. We have experimented with different rules for inside zone blocking with varying degrees of success. What do you think about head up, play side, backside as a simple system? Yeah, I think that's fine. Covered or uncovered is probably the easiest system that you can get to, where if you're covered, you have certain steps and techniques you're going to use. If you're uncovered, you have certain steps and techniques that you're going to use. And then you just got to figure out if you're front side or backside. So if you're uncovered backside, you're going to work to cut that off as hard as you possibly can. But I don't think there's anything wrong with head up, play side, backside. I think that's as simple as you can get, and I think it's easy. And if you could come up with a count system for the center to figure out where he's going, and then the backside guys, if you have a 2 linebacker middle and you got to have your center, if you're reading the backside end and your center's got to go to one backer and your backside guard or tackle got to get to the other backer, you need some type of ID or count system so the center knows how to do that. But those rules, I think, are pretty good. We see mostly 5-3 cover 1 defense. Have you done any videos that discuss running the ball against this team? I don't know if I have anything out there. I have a video I think that's out there about running the ball against bear fronts, and I don't know if you are I don't know if you are formationally limited at your level, but the thing about the 5-3 is they can only play the 5-3 to varying structures of football. If you go 2-by-2 one back, they're going to play a 5-1. So they're going to have to take two of those guys if they're playing cover one. Two of those guys have to be playing man. So you're either going to get 5-1 man free or 5-2 straight up man. If it's a 5-2 box with 7 in the box, they're going to outnumber you in the run game, but you right away know that you've got man to man on wideouts and man to man on a running back. So, teams that play like those 5-3 structures can be a pain in the neck because, they can be difficult at the youth level, especially in the high school level, and odd fronts can be difficult for a center and all that. But the bottom line is they can't play that box to everything. So you got to be thinking about formations and motions to get guys out of that. This is for all coaches. This is for all coaches on here. If you haven't checked out the blast tip of the spear blocking technique I used at youth 5 to 8th grade, great success and great safety teaching. I've heard a little bit about it. I haven't heard much about it, but anything that promotes safety and techniques of blocking to kids, not only the safety part, obviously safety is number one, but as far as where to strike, where your face needs to be. If your face is up when blocking's a little bit different than tackling to me, especially with O-line. If your helmet's up, you're going to avoid a lot of bad positions. Tackling has a lot of open space that you got to cover, and a lot of guys running full speed. Offensive line is not really running full speed. The steps happen in such a short space that they don't really get the full speed. So, but as far as the blocking techniques and your feet in the ground and what steps to take on certain blocks and how to get in and out of a stance, if they just had people teaching kids stances, it'd be a great deal because people don't teach stances over and over again. They want to teach plays. So anything that helps, if that blast tip of the spear is something you recommend, I take your word for it. So everybody else out there, check it out. If it's good for the youth level, it's probably good for us too. We're not much further removed from youth level. Wing T with run and shoot, great run game. And yeah, it's a little bit. You take the wing T and you break the formations a little bit, and then maybe you use some run and shoot philosophies. It's not philosophically they're going to be so different, but I think you can take concepts from each one. And bottom line about offense nowadays, if I had to give anybody advice, find a way to be different. Whatever you can do to be different. Like right now, go back. Wing T stuff would probably be really good right now because it's different. Single wing is different. Flex bone used to be different. I don't know how much different it is, but it's still somewhat different. I think different on offense is better than complex or complicated. I think if you can just be different than 7 or 8 of the teams that you're playing, or I think that's a really good thing to be on offense. You got to be yourself. You got to teach to what you know. You got to teach to what you believe in. You got to play to your personality. But I think I've done a lot of studying over the last year, and I think different is the best scheme to have. You can throw out there all the different, I've talked about different philosophies and different systems and why I don't believe in systems per se. But the biggest tip that I would give to anybody would be, if you can be different at all, try to be different. And that's what we're going to look to do. We're going to change our offense a little bit from what it was. And I don't know how different it's going to be, but I think different is really good. Did a great pull drill that worked the combos. If D-line was play side head up backside, it worked real well. See, again, guys, I think like YouTube Live here, guys are asking questions to me, but there's other guys responding with things they've done, which makes it, which makes the platform on YouTube Live so interesting to me. Usually main Talon. I main Talon mid a lot of the times, and then I got outside the box. And once I started watching YouTube videos, I got outside the box and screwed around a little bit. I mained Lulu in the top lane. I mained Lulu as machine gun Lulu as a in the bottom lane, not as support. Obviously, I played Lulu as support, but I also it's been so long that I played, I forget what they what is it, the damage carries, the marksman on the bottom, the Caitlins and the Dravens and the Ashes and the Ezreal and all those guys on the bottom. I forget what they were called, but I would use Lulu, shotgun Lulu with an attack damage build and an attack speed build, and people hated it, but it was actually pretty cool. So I've done it all. I mained in a jungle for a little bit, ran around with a Moo for a little bit, and then jungle Udyr for a little bit, and then screwed around jungling Twitch a little bit. So I tried all the YouTube stuff. I tried everything else, but my main was I was a big talent main in the mid. Do you have the desire to coach college football on any level? I've always had a desire to coach college football. I don't think I could do so anymore and be away from home um, with two young kids. We're not moving unless I was, if I took a job somewhere for five or $600,000 and my wife didn't have to work, then maybe we could move. But right now, we're probably not moving. So I've always had a desire to coach in football. The biggest desire for me for college football is I've had a desire to build your own team, to go out there and recruit your own team to fit your needs as a 3-4 team or a 4-3 team or a 4-2-5 team or a team that was looking to build around three safety structures and recruit nickel safeties, and a team that was built around an air raid philosophy or a spread philosophy or a pro eye philosophy that was recruiting tight ends and fullbacks and drop back passers. I've always had a desire to coach at a level where instead of coaching the hand that you're dealt, you're out there physically building your team to suit the needs of what you want to run on offense and defense. I've always been intrigued with the NFL, with the draft. I've always been intrigued with free agency. I've always been intrigued with trades, and recruiting in college is something that I would like to do. And I think, even though I'm 47 now, going on 48, I still think I relate to kids really well. And I have a lot of things like video games and wrestling and, playing golf and different things that I think I can relate to young kids still, even though I'm a little bit older, because I've been a high school coach for the last 20 years. I've had to stay kind of relevant. And now, especially with social media and things, I have my kids trying to teach me how to use Snapchat, and my kids at school trying to teach me how to get better at Instagram because I'm a Twitter and a YouTube guy. So um, I've had to stay kind of relatively young at heart. So yeah, I have desire to coach in college, but that would be the main reason. Two main reasons: one, make enough money so my wife doesn't have to work and my family can do whatever they want, and I can provide the things they need. And two, so I could coach in a setting where I could recruit and build my own team. Anthony Loreno, do you like certain runs for a certain interior lineman? Example, zone to shade, power to three. Yeah, there's certain things that you got to look at. Usually you try to stay out of bad situations. So, when you're running power and the center has to back block a one technique, it's a little bit easier than back blocking a three technique or trying to have your tackle hinge the three technique. So, you know, um, certain looks you want to run at bubbles, certain looks you want to run away. Normally you want it to run dart away from the three technique so that you can get the double on the one and you would just have a base block on the and and you could have a base block on the three technique, and instead of needing running at an individual base block, a solo block on a three technique and a five technique. So there's certain runs that want to go certain ways, but honestly, the hardest thing that I have to convince my offensive line coaches and my offensive coaches is the way I want to play and the tempo we want to play at. I am going to call plays regardless of what the front is. I'm actually going to call plays before I see the front, and we have to run our inside zone versus an open B gap and an open A gap and an odd front. We got to run power versus an open A gap, an open B gap, and an odd front. And I make my coaches, my O-line coach, block every front, and then I try to tell them, yeah, ADC, that's it. It's been so long that I forgot how to the terminology for an attack damage carry. I remembered support, I remembered jungle, I remembered top lane. I used to Garen top lane, and then Renekton top lane for a little while. But yeah, let's get back to football because I don't want too much League of Legends talk because I don't have the PC to play it right now. So I'll get bummed out that I won't be able to play, especially over this quarantine. It'd be a great game to play on the quarantine. No, I don't do drugs. I don't know if that's a funny question or if you're trying to get a different answer, but I'll answer every question on here. Do not do drugs. Tried when I was real young, tried pot one time and just wasn't for me. I was more of a drinker, but I'm older now, so I really don't do a lot of anything exciting. I'll drink a few beers at the golf course, but I never drink at home, and probably haven't been, drunk in probably 20 years or something like that. So, all right, this has been a good one so far. We got about 25 minutes left, going on an hour. We've had over 20 people the entire time, which is great. Again, remember that with the super chats, if you contribute to the channel with the super chat, your chat will get highlighted and it'll stay up there the whole time so that I can see it. You also help grow the channel and build the channel so that we can go out and get some of the things, like I said, a better laptop, Maybe the lighting in this room is just because of the room I'm in. It has nothing to do with the lighting, but better laptop and then maybe a better camera and then maybe a better, maybe some better audio stuff so that our audio visual gets better in the future. So um, again, not something I don't even, I very rarely on my regular YouTube channel. I know I see other YouTube channels where people talk about it all the time, but I very rarely talk about membership. I very rarely talk about super chats. I very rarely talk about any of that stuff. It's just not my style, but it's out there. It's up. If you wanted to do it, there's a little button at the bottom where you can click and support, and then you get a little emoji. That you can put up there with it, and then your question or your comment stays up there highlighted so everybody can see it all the time. So, um, but these I don't know why I don't know why you Victor G. I don't know why you removed the message. I could understand some of it. I took Spanish in high school and grew up in New York, so I can understand a little bit of Spanish. And I know that you were saying you were coming from somewhere in Mexico and you like the channel, and so don't feel bad if you've got to type in Spanish. I can probably discern some of it, and if I can't, there's 22 other people on here. Somebody probably can. So um, I'm a firm believer that college coaches find talent, no doubt. Any recommendation on building relationships with college coaches um, to be able to say, "Hey, I have a kid." You got to. Twitter's a great way to do that. Now that we have social media, Twitter's a great way to do it because colleges are on there now. But you just got to be around when colleges come around. You got to network. You got to send emails out, and we're fortunate enough where I'm in Florida that colleges are going to roll through all the time. So I get a business card and a Twitter of everybody that comes through, and I thank them and their university for coming through. And it's just like coaching in high school. You got to build a social network, and then you got to build trust with those guys. And when they come and get one of your players, here's the biggest thing I can tell you: don't ever lie to a guy to get your kid in college, because if you tell him that a kid is something that a kid isn't, and that kid goes there, they'll never recruit your school again. So as much as you want your kid to play college football, be truthful. If he's not a hard worker, say so. If he skips class, say so. If you don't think he'd fit, say so. If he's somebody that you would sell your soul for, say so. But here's again right now, like Anthony Loreno. Anthony, you're a D3 coach, or you're asking if Justin's a D3 or yeah, and things like this when you get on YouTube Live, everybody that's on YouTube Live, if you have a Twitter, type your Twitter up there for everybody else to see, for everybody to follow. That's how that's how you grow. Mine is at Coach Mac 8740, and and that's how you get better. Sorry, responded to somebody that wants me to watch AEW at their house tonight. Um, but that's how that's how it grows. Like when I first started doing the YouTube channel, I had no idea if anybody was going to watch. Then some people. Which school, Anthony? I played D3 in New York on Long Island, in Queens, actually, at St. John's University, which St. John's in New York, the basketball school. We don't play football anymore, but I played D3 slash 1AA non-scholarship, and then I GA coached it for 2 years and recruited it and did all the in-office work. Um, Yeah, so that's how I didn't know if anybody would watch the channel, and then subscribers started going from there, and then I started learning what subscribers meant, and then I qualified for Google AdSense and other things, and it's the same thing with Twitter or anything else. You got to start small, you got to start slow, and then you got to learn. Where in Connecticut, bro? I'm from Long Island. We're right across the dam, right across, just a ferry ride away from each other. Crown College, 45 minutes west of Twin Cities. Nice. Did you go to college in Connecticut, or we used to play Sacred Heart, and then was Fairfield no, Fairfield wasn't in Connecticut. We used to play Sacred Heart, so I'm pretty sure it was in Connecticut. Never got a chance to play Western Connecticut. Never got a chance to play Central Connecticut. Whole family is Stamford, Bronx based. My dad moved to the Bronx before he passed away. After him and my mom got divorced and he got remarried. My dad lived right off of Tremont Avenue in the Bronx, so familiar with the Bronx too. Used to go to a million Yankee games when I was growing up as a Yankee fan. Um, Northwest Catholic, West Hartford. Yeah, I don't know a ton about the Hartford area except for WWE headquarters. Never been there. Wish I could, but we have two Connecticut people in the house. and a Long Island guy running the YouTube Live. Amazing. East Coast is dominating today. Um, what do you think of Sonny's barbecue? Miss it since I moved back to Ohio from Middleburg. Oh shoot. Obviously, if you're from Middleburg, you're a barbecue guy. I am not a barbecue guy coming from New York, but I've grown to like Sonny's. I've grown to like Woody's. Um, I know there's some, you know, there's, I know there's a lot of different barbecue companies that everybody, the Smoking Pig in Valdosta and some of the big ones. I wouldn't know, Carl. You'd probably know better than I would. But as a New York guy that really doesn't know a lot about barbecue, I think Woody's is good. I think Sonny's is good. I really, be honest with you, I'm so green and such a noob to the barbecue world that I really have never had bad barbecue. That's just my opinion. I'm usually a pulled pork guy, or I'm not a ribs guy, but I wouldn't be a good judge of barbecue food because all the barbecue I've had's been pretty good. So, uh, uh, I think you're saying thank you very much. You do a great job with all your videos. The channel helps a lot. Every time I need to check concepts, I always check it. Hey, I appreciate it, man. Thanks. It's always good to see. Every time I've done this is my third or fourth YouTube live, and every time I've done YouTube live, I've had at least one or two people from another country, which is amazing to me to think that I started YouTube live from my office in Orange Park, Florida, at the school that I was at, um, and the fact that you know didn't know I don't have state championships. I don't have. I coach one. I've only coached 4 or 5 Division I players my entire career. I coached one kid that played at the University of Florida, and now he was playing with the Tampa Bay Bandits in the XFL. But I don't have any ties like that to make me famous or to make people know who I am. So the fact that it picked up from YouTube stuff, and the fact that somebody checks in from Spain and Romania and Bulgaria and Mexico, and it's just amazing to me. So whatever I can do to help, anytime you have questions, ask. I'll answer anything I can do. I've even had people ask me to go to do clinics in France and other places, and it's just economically for me not feasible. I'd love to do it to promote, the game of American football and help coaches out, but it's got to be, at this point in my life, it's got to be economically feasible. Newton, either Newton's arrival. When you say sorry to hear that, usually means that's normally what I would say if somebody says they're from New Jersey. I'd say sorry. At JoJo, is that your Twitter, Justin Joseph? Let's check that out right now. Yeah, West Coast, San Diego in the house. My daughter's trying to get out to the West Coast for a Taylor Swift concert. I have an in-law that lives out there, and my daughter's trying to get out that way. Never been to California. That's one of the only places I've been to. Oregon. I've been to Vegas, but I've never been to California. Carl, you're saying I'm not perfect because I don't know how to judge barbecue, or because I don't like. I'm not a food connoisseur in general. But you are right. I'm far from perfect. Dang it. All right. So what was that? That was JoJo225. Is your Twitter JoJo just straight capital? Oh, I got it. JJo. My bad. JoJo. I'm getting like JoJo Siwa. JJo225. Coach Joseph. There you go. All right, so I'm going to follow you, Coach Joseph, from that, and then I'm going to go to my PlayFast account, and I'm going to go JJo225. You got one of them fancy Twitters where you got to accept followers. It says pending all the time. Have to keep it filtered from the non-sports. Yeah, I follow it. I follow. Here's what I do. I filter my own stuff, but I follow everybody I can follow that follows me, unless they're female or a high school player in the Florida area. If they're a high school player in the Florida area, I don't follow back. If they're female, I generally don't follow back unless it's somebody in the sporting goods company that sells to us, or somebody in the. We've had some reporters at news channels that were female and stuff like that. But other than that, I don't follow females, and I don't follow um, high school players in the Florida section. Other than that, I follow everybody that follows me, just because I don't think, I can choose to respond and not respond, and see and what I want. So I just thought it would be big time. If you had all kind of people following me on Twitter and you don't follow back and you're just a football coach, I just think it's kind of big time, and I don't want to big time anybody. So thank you, Carl. I appreciate it. That's the way I look at it for Clay County when I do clinics and do things nationally, and I write articles for publications. And it's amazing to think that there's times where I go to speak at clinics and uh, I can't get off of work, or I got to take my own personal days off of work, and I go back and tell them, how many of your math teachers, have YouTubes with 18,400 followers, and how many of your math teachers can run national math clinics that people are going to come to, but yet a math teacher can go and get time off to go to a math clinic, but your football coach can't, and your football coach is, bringing your school and your county on the map more so than any of your other teachers could possibly ever do. So I appreciate that. But J. Joe, you're going to get one from Coach Mack and one from PlayFast. So I don't think you've got to filter those. Go ahead and follow back, and then we'll keep building a chain from there. Follow the questions, the hashtag questions. Not the hashtag, but questions I'm going to ask the next 25 days to win PlayFest bucket boonie hat, and you'll see how it keeps building from there. And then when you follow the hashtag chats each night at the time they are, like mine is Sunday night at 8 o'clock, hashtag FLHSFB CHAT. You search that up there, and then anybody that puts that in their answer, you can follow the whole thing as it goes. Every question with that and every answer will be shown, so it's real easy to do. Oh, my bad, Anthony. Yeah, that was a long time ago, 2004 or five, something like that. But I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Was a great man, hardworking man, middle class. 100% of the way worked 6 days a week just so I could have the best bat and the best glove and the best cleats. And so, great dude. Anthony Lorraine. Newton's a nice town, won a state championship. Oh, good for them. Congrats then to whoever was from Newton. Good for them. Public school or private school? Anthony Lorraine, at David, you coached there, worked with Brandon Lombardo and his quarterback coach. Oh, so you have one of those deals where the youth in Newton goes all the way up through the high school. That's probably why they win state championships. Anytime you can do it that way. Apparently, we have daughters. My godchild made me listen to all of her songs. Yes, I have two daughters, so I've done everything Disney. I've listened to everything Disney. My older daughter is a huge Taylor Swift fan, and I am not. I am a huge fan of Sia and Adele and Lady Gaga, but I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan. But I have been to a Taylor Swift concert. So I've seen it all: Disney, dance, costumes, you name it. Keeps me kind of humble. At Coach G Field. Let's hook this up now at Coach G Field. Come on, let's get some other football questions on there. This has been great for social media, great to network, but we need some more ball questions on here at Coach G Field. Is this you, Coach Greenfield? Yeah, that's you. It's the same picture. All right, so I'll follow that, and then I'll go to my. Let me go to. Sorry. There's one from PlayFest. Let me go to Coach Mack, and that was Coach. Hold on, don't get too crazy. There's Coach Greenfield, so there's one from Coach Mack, and then I got to go back. Let me get one more here. So, Coach G Field, there's one from Play Fast Football. So there's three for you, Coach G Field, Coach Greenfield, and then let me go back. Who was the other? Let me go back and go JJo225 right there. Now you'll have another one, J. Joe from FLHSFB chat. That's my third one. So you guys should have 3 invites. I'm sorry, 3 follows from each one. Thoughts on Tom Brady? We talked about Tom Brady last time we went live, I think, a little bit. I am not. Where's Antonio Brown, Boomer Sooner? I haven't followed that. I don't know. Is he with the Bucks too? I don't know what's going on with Antonio Brown. Yeah, but Brady going to the Bucks. I'm not a big Jameis Winston fan, so I'm hoping that they can have success with Brady. I'm hoping that his career doesn't end in a bombshell with everything he's done for the Patriots. I know he's still got good years left in him physically, but they're going to have to keep him on his feet and give him outlets to throw the ball to, and give him some people that can do the things that they did when he was with the Patriots. So I think he wants to prove that he's more than just a quarterback on a great team. I think he wants to prove how good he is, even though he's probably the best quarterback ever. But as far as Antonio Brown, I don't know what's up with him. Great player, but just a complete tool, if you ask me. Where's Carl? Let me go back, Carl. Have you done a video about risk management, both professional football playing wise, personal, etc., as coaches? It's about the perception of others as to your interactions with players, students. You talking about risk management of what we're actually going through right now, or the risk management of playing football? I've talked a little bit about, briefly, not really at length in videos, but obviously with what I do for a living and what I now do, and it's the only job I've had my entire adult life, I wouldn't change a thing. I'd play football again. I started playing youth contact football when I was 6. I wouldn't tell anybody to start later. I wouldn't do anything like that. I mean, it is what it is. It's something you do, and I love it to death. And I think the numbers are out there that there's as many girls soccer players with concussions and girls lacrosse players and field hockey and other sports as there are in football. So I think football gets a bad rap, but let me know if I'm thinking the wrong way. You talking about the risks of football or the risks of Corona? No Twitter, Anthony. Yusef, do you think more teams will revert back to using fullbacks because of the success of the 49ers and Patriots? I think fullbacks have been used a lot lately. I think how people are going to use them. If you're familiar with the term sniffer came around when more shotgun spread teams started using fullbacks, and they were lining them up behind, almost directly behind the lineman, where they were sniffing the line, the ass of the offensive lineman, so that they could kick out a little bit easier and make blocks a little bit easier and do things. I think, going back to the old school days of a fullback, that is a true fullback in the NFL. That's a blocker and a pass catcher and an occasional short yardage runner. I think you're going to see more of that. What I really think you're going to see is, I think you're going to see more wide zone. That's what I think you're going to see, more wide zone as a run play, based on what the Niners did and what the Titans did to make their playoff run. I think you're going to see a lot of people investing time in wide zone. I don't think it's as good of a play shotgun offset. I think it's a better play shotgun pistol if you're going to be a shotgun team, or it's a better play under center. So we'll see how all the spread teams and RPO teams are wrinkling it. I don't think from an offset position it times up at all, and I would never run it that way. So we're going to run it. We're going to run it from the pistol. What do you feel is best building blocks for a spread offense with a subpar O-line? It's going to be tough winning games. I've had kind of this issue the last 2 or 3 years at the school I'm at. I can't put together a solid O-line that stays healthy. I get 2 or 3 that we like, and then one of them gets hurt. One of them in the offseason decided to get a job and not come back. So any offense you're in, if you are any offense at all and you don't have offensive linemen, you're not going to win. So best thing you do is get the ball out of your hand quick, have as many read schemes, whether it be reading defensive ends or 3 techniques or linebackers or whatever. When you read guys, you don't have to block them. So, but anytime you read guys and you don't have to block them, it's better if you're not good with your offensive line. So if you don't have a good offensive line, no, this is my youngest, Mia. Don't fix your hair. Anytime you don't have to block people, obviously it's better if you don't have a good line. But if you don't have a good line, I don't care what system you run, you're not going to be very good. Sip to Tally Films. The talk tonight was a little bit of everything, from football to social networking and social media to social distancing to everything else that's been going on. Running quarterback, what is your strategy for containing those guys? I think those guys are inadvertently making them uncomfortable. Consider passing. I've coached against one that was just a pure magician. Yeah, you got to keep them in the pocket where they're not comfortable. So you got to keep edge rushers and teach guys how to rush and not lose contain. And then you also got to teach guys how to not rush past the quarterback, because behind the quarterback is the worst place on the football field to be as a defensive football player. So you got to teach guys how to rush to a certain depth and then how to retrace their steps or come back down their stem to keep guys in the pocket. Make those guys do things that they don't want to do. Obviously, they're good runners. They want to run. So, yeah, they're good runners. They want to run. So don't let them outside the pocket. And then when they run the ball, make them run it in between the tackles inside the box and put as many helmets on them as you can and make it as miserable as you can each time. They're good, though. We best season we had, we were 9-1, and I had a 1,000-yard rusher and a 1,000-yard passer. And he was the strongest kid pound for pound in the weight room. He was 190-pound quarterback and a 300-pound cleaner and a 285-pound bencher and a 450-pound squatter and physically tough. So we ran power read and QB power and QB counter, and he was my downhill short yardage between the tackles runner. And he was just a nightmare for other teams because he liked contact as much as other people. So, good running quarterbacks make it. The other thing I talked about last week, and I'll say it again so everybody that's here tonight can hear me say it. I think when you play under center, you're playing 11 on 10. I think the offense has 10 guys and the defense has 11 when you're under center. I think the quarterback can do some things with play action fakes and waggles, but in the run game, I think it's 11 on 10. I think as soon as you get into the shotgun and you make the quarterback a potential runner, even if he's not the greatest runner, I think you now play 11 on 11. So I think shotgun quarterback runs is essential in today's game of football. Even though there's still a lot of teams that are under center and NFL teams that are really good, in my opinion, I think you're playing 11 on 10. If he signed with the Bucks, good for him. I don't wish misfortune on anybody, but the guy's got a lot of problems. He's got a lot of issues, and outside of being a great football player, I don't know what else he brings to society, and he needs to understand that because if he's not playing football, I don't know what else he's going to do to make a living or be relevant, and I don't want to see the guy, strung out somewhere on drugs, out on his ass, spent all his money because he has nothing to fall back on. Tremendously talented dude, probably a really smart dude. With the way he's approached some things to make the money that he's made, but just not all there outside of that. I hope mentally he's okay. I hope he's not mentally ill. I hope he just did some dumb things to be an ass and it caught up with him. But on top of that, he'll be good with the Bucks, I think. Buck trap waggle series, belly down, wingback counter series, a fullback toss. And if you got some burners, use jet series. Yeah, anytime you can run jet. Anytime in a wing tee, you can run jet stuff and then everything off a jet, and if you can run belly and belly option, and then if you can break formations a little bit and throw the ball, I think you're golden. I meant personal risk, career risk, lawsuit, perceived sexual misconduct, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think that's in every business. I think it's out there. You got to put yourself in good situations. Obviously, I have female students that are in my gym classes. I have to make sure that I'm smart with what I'm doing and make sure you're never in places. But it's the same thing in the business world. You don't want to be caught in a room by yourself with a secretary or a coworker because it's their word against yours. And I mean, things like that are everywhere. And I don't think about them that much as a coach. I think about safety on the field more often than not, and how am I keeping kids safe and how am I keeping kids healthy. And the last week I went into work as the coronavirus was coming down, I would, bleaching water, I had some Clorox stuff and some Clorox wipes that I would wipe all the benches down 3 times a day. And then after I ran out of those, I mixed up some bleaching water and towels and, so I mean, just stuff like that. But as far as those risks, I don't think about it. I don't think you can live that way. If you thought about those risks every day that you went to work, I think you just drive yourself crazy. How many variations of the same passing concepts do you carry into a game? How many tags or variations, or if I carry 3-man scat or 3-man snag, and I carry snag corner flat, I'm going to have tags to that play, but I'm not going to have many other variations of that play. I'm going to have tags to it. If I carry curl flat, I'm going to have some tags to curl flat. If I carry smash, I'll probably have some tags or some backside read away from Mike things that I'll do. But if you mean tags, yes, we'll carry other tags. Variations, I don't know. I don't know what exactly you would mean by variations of a certain play. The only other way to do it is you have to have several reads and options built into the play, kind of like air raid philosophy, where you only have 3 or 4 concepts, but the kids have multiple routes that they can run within the concepts based on what defenders are doing. So I try to stay away from that style of football in high school because I don't think we have enough time. I don't think we have enough time to work physically on all those. Obviously, on air we have time and 7-on-7 and some things in the summer we have time. But I try to stay away from multiple players in high school having to be on the same page with where they're breaking and what route they're running because I've been burned in the past by throwing a dig when a kid broke out, or throwing an in route when a kid broke out, or throwing a go ball when a kid came back. And so we we it's been called rigid at times within our passing game, but I try to keep it simple, keep the rules simple, and keep the routes and the reads simple for the quarterback. That's just my philosophy. Yeah, Josh Allen should have a breakout year. It's year three should always be the year that you're looking to do big things. Obviously, if you I think it depends a little bit on. I think it depends a little bit on. Is there more than one? Where is it? You talking about the quarterback? Or are you talking about the outside linebacker for the Jags? Let's get that straight before because I know there's I know the one that plays for the Jags and went to Kentucky, the outside linebacker, but I think there's also a quarterback that the Bills just signed. And is he the Wyoming kid? I know he was a small school guy. I think he was. I want to say he was a Wyoming kid, maybe, or obviously 6'4", 6'5", big arm, big grade at combine and all that. But I want to say that Josh Allen was a kid from Wyoming. I think. Am I wrong? Carson Wentz was North Dakota State, right? And then Josh Allen was the Wyoming kid. But yeah, year three as a quarterback. Yeah, I mean, he's got to do big things now, or obviously free agency. I think he's done well in year three now, and with what the Buffalo Bills have done. But year three usually, especially for quarterbacks, depending on how much you played and how much you've started, is a pivotal year. A lot of times it's a contract year because when guys come in the beginning, a lot of times they sign 3-year deals. So that third year going in is a big deal for a lot of guys. But as a quarterback, if you I don't know how many starts he has under his belt. I don't know if he's got over 30 starts in 2 years or if he's got over 20 starts, whatever. But as a quarterback now, if you've been playing that long in your third year and you've started 20 something, 30 something games, now you're no longer a rookie, you're no longer green, you're no longer young. You got to be a leader, you got to be a big time player. So I think he needs to have a good year. I think he's got all the tools to have a good year, and I think the Bills have done some good things around him. And with without Brady and the Patriots, I saw something the other day that the Vegas odds for the Bills either to win the East or be in the Super Bowl from the AFC just climbed dramatically after Brady left the Patriots. So I think there's people that have a lot of big hopes for the Buffalo Bills. How often did or does your players work out in the weight room on and off season? Coaching up in upstate New York, find it very hard to get players with talent to commit to get stronger off season training. It's kind of a way. It's kind of a way of life in Florida. Our kids are in my class. I teach 5 weight training classes all day. That's all I teach. I have 70% of my roster in my classes during the day. The ones I don't have to come after school and work out. And then we're going to lift. We're going to lift 4 days a week in the summer, Monday through Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for about 6 weeks in the summer. So it's just kind of a way of life down here. And kids got to understand if you want to compete and you want to play, you got to get better. And with the kids that we play, we're seeing 30, 40 Division I players possibly a year on our schedule. So if you're not lifting and running, you're just putting yourself in harm's way. So I will agree with you, though. I grew up on Long Island, and we never lifted over the summer. We'd throw the ball a little bit and we'd run a little bit, but the only kid that lifted over the summer was a kid that ended up playing in the NFL. That's why he was so much different than the rest of us. I wish somebody would have told me to focus more on techniques and fundamentals and the simplicity of the game than the complexity of the game. When I was young, I wanted to know. I wanted to show people that I can run everything, so I ran everything on offense, and I wanted to show people that I could block toss and I could block G belly off a toss, and I could block ISOs and I can block powers and I can block counters and I could block inside zone and I could do it with one tight end and I can do it with 2 tight ends and I just tried to do way too many things and jack of all trades, master of none. We really didn't get good at anything. So I wish somebody when I was younger, would have sat me down and said, hey, look, find something you like on offense, find something you like on defense, perfect that, and then work on techniques and fundamentals and become a great teacher of the game. I learned that the hard way over the years, and now my YouTube channel is based off of thoughts just like that, and trying to convince people not to do so many things and trying to convince people not to be, so uh, confusing at times on offense, or so diverse on offense and defense, and confusing kids. And even though they got a good scheme on paper or on a napkin, their kids don't understand what to do. And so, I've been fighting that battle for the last couple of years and trying to explain to coaches that I think there's a better way to go about things. But football's a unique beast. There's so many different ways to skin a cat. And, there's a lot of guys that do it one way and have a lot of success. And I just give my opinion on the things that I think. But if somebody could have told me that when I was young, that I didn't have to prove myself by running 9 million schemes, I would have greatly appreciated. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's illegal. So, I mean, you know, I think the fact that it's illegal, you don't want your players doing anything illegal. Second of all, as high school kids, they're still not really adults yet, so they shouldn't be, um, they shouldn't be doing, things like that. But I've had a vice. I've chewed tobacco for 27 years since I moved to Florida. I've cut back the last couple of weeks. I'm trying to completely eliminate it, but I know I'm the coach, but at the same time, sometimes if I can't quit chewing tobacco, it's kind of hard to tell a kid that he shouldn't or don't vape. But obviously, we don't want kids doing that. We don't want them to get it started on any of that. I didn't start till I moved to Florida. I never smoked or chewed tobacco or spit or dipped or did anything like that when I was younger. So, I mean, the biggest thing for me, number one, is health wise, they don't know what's in all that shit. So it's very much not healthy. And two, it's illegal. And I don't want my kids doing anything illegal because that's not the program we're trying to teach. I don't want my kids vaping. I don't want them smoking. I don't want them dipping. I don't want them drinking. I don't want them skipping class. I don't want them late to class. I don't want them stealing things. I don't want them selling things. Anything that's illegal, I want them following rules and becoming productive members and citizens, in society. That's the bottom line. So I don't think it's just a Cali thing, buddy, Cody. I think it's everywhere, and I think in Cali it's probably a little bit. There's probably because of the lifestyle in Cali and because of the yeah, we have a discipline policy, but we keep it very simple. We try not to. The more rules you have, the more you have to follow. So we try to make a couple black and white things that you're not going to do. And then our school has a code of ethics and whatnot. And we try to follow that code of ethics, but we try to keep it as simple as we can. You're not gonna drink. You're not gonna do drugs. You're not gonna steal. You're not gonna lie. Just things like that. Because if you have a discipline policy and you outline 50 rules, you got to follow every single rule, and it gets tough to do. I think you need to have 6 to 8 things that cover about everything. And then you always need to leave yourself a way out as a head coach to say that some of the discipline will be subject to the head coach because not every kid is the same. A lot of people say all kids should be treated the same. And I don't believe that. I think all kids should be treated fairly and they should all be treated the way they deserve to be treated. So, a kid that comes to every practice, every workout, every day is going to get treated different than a kid that misses 2 practices a week or has a tendency or a propensity to miss workouts. You know, they're going to be treated a little bit differently because one kid has a habit of doing it all the time. One kid never does it. So when he does it one time, it's going to be treated a little bit differently. I mean, that's the nature of the beast. You treat kids fairly, you treat them how they deserve to be treated, but you don't treat them all the same. And if you understand that, you'll also keep yourself from backing yourself into a corner with some things. So a lot of things in my discipline policies, I say, the punishment is subject to the head coach so that I can deal with it how I want to deal with it and not be backed into a corner. So the ski gun offense is pretty cool. It's a triple option offense with some motion and some things, and the quarterback is closer to the line, and so it's kind of like no problem, Cody. Thanks for the question, buddy. I appreciate it. It's it's kind of like it was original pistol to where the quarterback was heels at 3 yards and a tailback or a fullback, whatever you want to call them, that's behind the quarterback was heels at 5 or something like that. So it had quick hitting midline and veers and traps and plays like that. So it had a lot of wing philosophies and flex bone philosophies to it. So while at the same time snapping a ball to a quarterback 3 yards away, which made him a more viable runner in some things. There were some jet motions and the jet sweeps are okay. Power read and some other read game wasn't as good because the jet guy's too close to the line of scrimmage and it's hard for the quarterback to discern what the end's doing. But I think the ski gun was pretty explosive from the teams I've seen run it. A lot of teams I think it was Muskegon in Michigan uh, was one of the big ones. But the topic is everything, Ray. Everything football, everything life, social distancing, social networking. Um, like I said before, I know this is a football channel, and I'll answer anything, but I do have a couple other tricks up my sleeve. I'm an avid golfer. I'm a wrestling fan. I'm a music fan. I'm a dad. So outside of football, the topic could be anything from football to anything else. Yusuf, I appreciate it. Launchpad kickoff tee. Yeah, I'm going to check out that new kickoff tee. And I saw that you guys followed us on Twitter. Um, and if you're really looking to break into the football demographic, then we should work out a marketing plan or an advertising plan where I'll market the Launchpad kickoff tee. You guys pay me monetarily. I'll get it in front of 38,000 people a month on YouTube, 5,000 hours of watch time on YouTube, 7,500 Twitter followers on my main account, 4,001 on the other one on my Florida football account. So if you want me to check out the Launchpad kickoff tee, let's talk marketing. I'm a dad with two daughters like everybody else. So if you have a product that you're trying to sell and you want me to get behind it, hit me up on DMs on Twitter or somewhere else and let's talk business. Bristol, Oklahoma. Yeah, I'm sure they do. I'll have to look that up, Josh. Thank you. I'm a heavy metal guy. I'm a huge Metallica fan. Been a Metallica fan most of my life. In my younger days, I was a hair band guy when I was in middle school. So I was a Bon Jovi, Cinderella, Poison, Motley Crue guy, and then got into heavier stuff as I got in high school. Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, Testament, and then I was also a hard rock, melodic hard rock, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, things like that is what I'm into. But listen to rap music growing up. I was Cool Mo D, Eric B. and Rakim, uh, Special Ed, Run DMC, Beastie Boys. I was Wu Tang, Public Enemy. Being an East Coast Long Island guy, I listen to some rap as well, but heavy metal's my go-to. What successful blocking schemes do you all have versus the tight front? That seems to be the new wave versus us spread guys. Um, I've seen it all versus the tight front have success. I've seen zone people do it well. I've seen wide zone people do it well. I've seen gap schemes if they're going to be four eyes. Um, I've seen gap schemes fare well. I think the biggest thing with the tight front, if it's a 3-2 box, is figuring out, where that extra safety is coming or where that extra, if they're playing it like a 3-2 box or a 3-4 theory, where it's a tight front that is a 3-4 theory with two high safeties. Then I think it's a little bit easier to define where the extra guy is coming from. If they play it like Iowa State versus one back, sometimes they played a 3-1 box and then they apex some linebackers out to where now they have three high safeties and you don't know who the extra one is or what the coverage is going to be. I think that's the tougher one, but I think the tight front's going to continue to be the study for guys. I think it's going to be, something, especially within a read game. Guys are now looking, well, they got that backside four eye. What are we going to do? How do we handle that? Are we going to read that backside four eye? How do we help the center? How do we climb to get to the backers that we needed? So I think tight front's going to be a study for the next year or so until offensive guys catch up. And then once they catch up, I've seen some guys that have talked about some pin and pull stuff and where they're trying to, get one or two more guys out to the perimeter, get the ball to the perimeter since the tight front seems to want the ball to go east and west. I've seen some offensive guys that are trying to get it to go east and west. I've seen some guys talk about the dark play being a good play. So we'll see. I think that's a great question, Ray. And I'll keep studying and you keep studying as it's out there. And watching college football is a great way to do it. I think you're going to see, especially in the Big 12 and spread teams are going to have to come. I think next season you're going to start seeing what the answer to tight front is. And it may be adding personnel. It may be adding tight ends and backs in the game. That might be it. You're talking about the box on offense. We do not see it at all. We saw single wing one time 2 years ago, and luckily we won that game. Had a hard time defending it, but at the same time we had some things in that we did well, and we had 18 tackles for loss that game, just with some some slight movements, and then some field and boundary check with me stuff, and then some knocked front stuff where we treated the new offensive center was the actual strong side, play side guard, or whatever you want to call him in a single wing series. So we found a key that we liked for our linebackers to get to, and then we just a couple simple 1 and 2 man movements up front, and then we only played one or two things all night, but we ended up with 18 tackles for a loss. But if it's a Notre Dame box, then I've never really played the Notre Dame box. I got to click this picture now. The only Ray I know from the Storm, it could be Ray Lambright that I played with, big defensive lineman that I played with, captain of our team one of those years. If that's you, if not, if you're just a St. John's guy, then uh, hail to the Storm, Red Storm. I was a Red man and a Red Storm. I want to click on that picture, but I don't want to leave YouTube to see if that's you, Ray Lambright. I hope you're doing well, buddy. I hope everything's all right. I hope all our buddies back home are doing all right. If it's not you and you're still a St. John's grad, God bless you. How many run concepts do you take into a game? What kind of tags variations do you use in the blocking schemes? Okay, talked about this last week and a little bit earlier, but obviously you weren't here, Dylan, so I'll talk about it again. It doesn't bother me at all. Carried 4 runs last year. We carried power, we carried dart, we carried our duo play, which is a combination of zone and veer. It's a inside zone play with gap veer blocking. Let's see, power, duo, dart. What else did we carry last year? Oh, and buck sweep. So we carried a power, duo, dart, and buck sweep last year, mainly a gap scheme team. In the past, I've never really carried more than 4 runs. What we'll do within a blocking scheme is we won't really tag the blocking schemes per se, but what we'll do. Oh, nice. I played from 91 to 95 and then coached in 96 and 97 before I moved down here in 98. So good for you. Love my days as the Red Storm. Unfortunately, I'm second in every receiving category. Dennis McDermott, who played in the 80s, has me in every receiving category, but I'm second. Was fortunate enough to catch 40 touchdowns as a receiver at St. John's and 133 passes as a receiver at St. John's for 5,000 something yards. So I had a great small college career. It was a great time. Loved the place, loved the school, loved the area. Dart is a tackle pull play where you're basically you're pulling a tackle from the backside, and you're usually going to read the 5 technique or the end man on the line from where the tackle pulls, and then on the front side you're trying to get a double team on a 1 technique if it's there. Simple rules per se: the play side tackle has number 2 on the line of scrimmage. Play side tackle has number 1 on the line of scrimmage. Center has most dangerous A gap with a guard. He's going to double team to a backside linebacker. Backside guard has number 1 on the line of scrimmage, either a double with the center or a 3 technique by himself. Backside tackle is actually going to pull to the front side and block the front side linebacker. So it's actually a isolation theory, with the tackle pulling being the ISO blocker on the front side inside linebacker. The box is like Notre Dame box. It's kind of funky, Newt Rockne type stuff. I don't know a lot about it, so I can't expand on that. Maybe Cody or whoever asked that question can. I think it's like a 3-back type deal, but I'm not really sure. I only know the box terminology from Notre Dame box stuff. So, but I appreciate you guys checking in tonight. I'm going to do another one sometime next week or early next week. We'll do another YouTube live. Maybe we'll. Seems to be offensive minded all the time on here. We talk a little bit of defense, but for some reason it seems the YouTube guys seem to always be offensive minded. But we'll talk in the future about no problem, Omar. We'll talk in the future about defense, I hope, and maybe some special teams or practice planning or practice organization or techniques and fundamentals at certain positions. Whatever you guys want to talk about, I'm free to talk about it. Remember, next time we go live, we've got the super chat, so that if you want your chats to stay up there for everybody to see, you can make a monetary donation to the channel, which again I never asked for. I'm not interested in begging people for viewers for their money, but with the super chats, your chats stay up there. You make a monetary donation to the channel, and then it helps grow the channel so that we can put together better videos, better editing, better lighting, better sound, everything else. But my YouTube channel has had a ton of success for 7 years with me not editing anything and me walking up in front of a camera and just shooting videos live. So I don't know if I'm going to change that platform because it seems to work really well. I know the algorithms on YouTube and all the major players on YouTube, they have everything edited, and they tell you to click a link that's here, and then when they point to it, it pops up, and we'll have a poll question down here, and they point to it in the description box below. I know that you're supposed to do all those things, and I know that you're supposed to edit the videos to do all those things. I don't really have enough time to do it, and I'm not technologically savvy enough. Although with the coronavirus, I'm going to learn how to get better with all those things. But like I said, my audience has liked the way I've done my YouTube videos for the last 7 years, so I may not change what I do on YouTube at all. I appreciate everything you guys do. Stay safe out there. Remember to wash your hands and cough into a sleeve or sneeze into a shirt or a sleeve, and sanitize, or do all the things you need to do to stay safe. But also try and exercise a little bit. Do some football stuff. If you do get a chance to get outdoors a little bit, because you can't sit inside forever. You'll go crazy. But thanks for everything you guys have done for me. Until the next YouTube video, it might be tomorrow. I don't know. Thanks, Brant. Appreciate it. Until the next YouTube video, remember always, you guys probably have your notifications on. That's why you jump on when I go live. No problem, Cody. Turn your notifications on. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click thumbs up or thumbs down if you like or don't like something, so that we know the content you want. And then make sure that you comment or leave messages. Thanks for your time, Coach. Hope you guys stay well, play fast. Yes, sir, Coach Decent, play fast, my friend. Stay safe out there. Find a way to take your mind off everything. And later, Coach Penfield. Let's see if tomorrow you can get one of them boonies. You've had some really good answers, so you've answered almost every question. So I think at some point I might give out a guilt boonie to you for answering all the questions. But again, guys, thanks for the social media stuff. Thanks for sharing some stuff with guys that are on YouTube live tonight, and building a network, and going from there. Stay safe. Do some things to ease your mind. Do some things to get out of the house if you can. And as always, I'll catch you guys next time. You won't play well until you play fast. See you next time.